She lived rent-free in my apartment for 4 years, cheated on me, then demanded $40,000 because she picked out the curtains. Here's how I shut down her imaginary equity claim. I bought my apartment when I was 25 years old. Not 26. Not, we bought it together when we met. 25. A full year before I ever laid eyes on the woman who would later try to claim she owned half of it because she picked out throw pillows. Let me take you back to understand why this matters so much. I started saving for that apartment when I was 18. Fresh out of high school, working at a grocery store during the day and doing night shifts at a warehouse on weekends. My friends were buying cars, taking trips, living their 20s. I was transferring money into a savings account labeled Future Home, and eating rice and beans 4 nights a week. For 7 years, I lived with roommates in cramped apartments, drove a 15-year-old Honda Civic, and said no to almost every invitation that cost money. At 25, I finally had it. $127,000. Enough for a small 2-bedroom apartment in a modest neighborhood about 30 minutes from downtown. The building was older, the finishes were basic, but it was mine. My name on the deed. My money for the down payment. My mortgage that I immediately started attacking with aggressive extra payments because I couldn't stand the idea of being in debt. Within 3 years, that mortgage was paid off. Completely. I was 28 years old and owned my home outright. Free and clear. That apartment represented everything I'd worked for. Every missed concert, every declined vacation, every night I chose overtime instead of going out with friends. It was my foundation. My proof that discipline and sacrifice weren't just abstract concepts but actual paths to security. I was so proud of that place I could barely sleep the first week I owned it. Then I met her. The beginning. It was at a friend's birthday party when I was 26. She was 25, worked in interior design, and had this infectious energy about her. We talked for 3 hours that first night, standing in the corner of a crowded apartment while the party happened around us. She was creative, opinionated, funny. She asked about my apartment and I found myself describing it in detail, watching her eyes light up as she mentally catalogued all the potential she saw in my descriptions. Bare walls can be good, she said. It means you get to create the space exactly how you want it. We started dating. It was exciting, easy. She'd come over after work and we'd cook dinner together. She'd point out little things about my apartment. You know what would look great here? A bookshelf. Create a focal point. Or, these overhead lights are so harsh. You need softer lighting, maybe some floor lamps. I liked having someone who knew about these things. My apartment was functional, but I'd never thought much about making it look good. After 8 months, she was spending more nights at my place than hers. After a year, she'd basically moved in. She had a drawer, then a closet, then half the bathroom counter. I didn't mind. I loved her. Loved coming home to her. Loved having someone to share my space with. Should I start paying rent? She asked once early on. Don't be silly, I said. We're together. We don't nickel and dime each other. Looking back, that sentence would prove expensive. The transformation. Over the next 4 years, the apartment changed. Dramatically. She painted the living room a warm gray. It makes the space feel bigger and more expensive, she explained. I paid for the paint. She picked out a new couch, modern and sleek, nothing like my old comfortable but worn one. I paid for the couch. She selected artwork, arranged it on the walls with precise spacing. I paid for the art and the frames and the hardware. She chose curtains, rugs, decorative pillows, kitchen items, plants, bookshelves, lighting fixtures. I paid for all of it. Every decision went through her. What do you think of this coffee table? She'd ask, showing me her laptop. I think it's great, I'd say, and then I'd put it on my credit card. She had opinions, strong ones, about everything. Colors, textures, placement, proportion, flow. Words I'd never thought about before became constant parts of our conversations. Don't put the lamp there. It ruins the sightline. These throw pillows need to be replaced. They're clashing with the rug. We need plants in this corner and this corner. It brings life to the space. The apartment did look better. I could admit that. Friends who visited commented on how nice it looked. Wow, you've really fixed this place up. I'd smile and say we'd been working on it, which was true in a sense. She worked on deciding. I worked on paying. Over 4 years, I spent approximately $12,000 on furniture, decorations, paint, and improvements. Every receipt went into my filing system. I'm organized about financial records, always have been. Every purchase tracked and documented. The apartment was objectively nicer than when I'd bought it. But here's what I didn't realize while it was happening. She was building a case. The cracks. Year 3 is when things started to shift. "We should move," she said one night. "Get a bigger place. Better neighborhood." "I like it here," I said. "And the mortgage is almost paid off." "That's the problem. You're not ambitious enough. You're content with good enough." "I'm content with what I worked 7 years to achieve, yeah." She started comparing us to her friends. Constantly. Sarah's boyfriend just bought a house in the suburbs. Mike's fiancée got a ring worth $20,000. Jessica's husband got promoted to senior director. Every comparison was a reminder of what I wasn't providing, what we weren't achieving, where we were falling short. "I'm not interested in competing with your friends' relationships," I told her. "It's not competing. It's wanting more from life. You're living rent-free in an apartment I own outright. You have a boyfriend who's financially stable and loves you. What exactly are you wanting more of?" That question made her angry in a way I didn't fully understand at the time. The end. Year 4, I found out she was seeing someone else. A friend saw them at a restaurant across town, sitting close, holding hands, the whole unmistakable scene. He sent me a photo. I stared at it for 20 minutes, my brain refusing to process what my eyes were showing me. Then I called her. "Who is he?" Silence. Then tears. Then excuses. I felt neglected. "You don't understand my needs. You're always working. You never want to do anything. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to happen." "How long?" 2 months. 2 months. While living in my apartment. Sleeping in my bed. Existing in the space I'd worked 7 years to earn and 4 years to pay off. "You need to move out. Can we talk about this?" "No. Move out this week." She did. Turns out she had somewhere to go, the new guy's place, a landing pad already prepared. She was gone in 3 days. Took her clothes, her personal items, left everything else. I thought that was the end of it. I thought I'd dodged additional drama. I thought wrong. The demand. 2 weeks after she moved out, I got a message. Not a text. A full email. Multiple paragraphs. Clearly drafted and revised and prepared in advance. I've been thinking about our 4 years together and specifically about the apartment. When I moved in, it was bare walls and cheap furniture. I transformed it into a home. My design skills, my aesthetic vision, my emotional labor, all invested into your property. I increased its value significantly. I made it livable, beautiful, a place people wanted to visit. I deserve compensation for that investment. I want either half the apartment's current value or $40,000 cash. That's fair for 4 years of investment. Let me know how you want to handle the transfer. I read it 3 times to make sure I was understanding correctly. She cheated on me. Left me for another man. And now wanted $40,000 because she picked out curtains? I actually laughed. Out loud. Alone in my apartment, I laughed because it had to be a joke. Some kind of bizarre attempt at humor during a painful breakup. But then I read it again. The tone was serious. Formal. She'd thought about this. Calculated a specific amount. Prepared her argument. She was dead serious. The response. I kept my reply simple. No. Her response came within an hour. Another wall of text. You're being unreasonable and honestly pretty cruel. I gave 4 years of my life to that apartment. My professional skills, my time, my energy, my creativity. Any lawyer will tell you that I have a legitimate claim. Sweat equity is a real thing. Courts recognize non-financial contributions all the time. I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for what I earned. What I invested. If you don't agree to fair compensation, I'll have no choice but to take legal action. I stared at the words, sweat equity, for a long moment. Then I typed back. Talk to a lawyer then. My answer is no. The panic. I'll admit, after that exchange, I panicked slightly. Could she actually have a case? I'd heard of sweat equity before. Seen stories about business partnerships gone wrong, property disputes, complex situations where non-financial contributions mattered. What if she was right? What if I was legally obligated to pay her? I called a friend from law school who'd gone into property law. Let me get this straight, he said after I explained. She lived in your apartment rent-free for 4 years. You paid for everything. She picked out furniture and paint colors. And now she wants $40,000 for that. She's calling it sweat equity. He laughed. For a solid 30 seconds, he just laughed. Sweat equity, he finally said, applies to business partnerships with formal agreements. Property improvements where someone contributes documented labor that increases actual market value. It requires contracts, clear expectations, agreed-upon terms. Your girlfriend picking out paint colors while living rent-free isn't sweat equity. It's being a girlfriend. Who lived rent-free for 4 years. So she has no case. Zero. None. She didn't pay toward the mortgage. She didn't fund renovations. She did interior decorating with your money. That's not equity of any kind. That's having opinions about how to spend someone else's money while benefiting from free housing. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in 2 days. She has no legal claim whatsoever, he continued. But she might convince herself she does, and people with no case sometimes make the most noise. Document everything. Keep records. If she actually tries legal action, she'll be laughed out of any lawyer's office who has 2 brain cells to rub together. The calculation. After that conversation, I went through my records. Every purchase for the apartment over 4 years. Furniture, paint, decorations, appliances, artwork, rugs, lighting, plants. Every receipt saved in my meticulous filing system. Total spent on improvements and furnishings during our relationship, $12,043.67. Total documented contributions from her, $0. Zero. Literally $0 documented dollars. She chose things, gave opinions, made aesthetic decisions. But every single purchase was funded by me. My credit cards. My bank account. My money. Then I did a different calculation. Average rent for a comparable apartment in our area. $1,100 per month. 4 years equals 48 months. 48 months times $1,100 equals $52,800. She lived rent-free for 4 years. That's $52,800 in housing I provided. And she wanted $40,000 from me because she picked out curtains? If we're actually calculating who contributed what, who benefited from whom, she was $52,800 in the hole. She owed me for 4 years of free living. But I'm not petty enough to pursue that. I just wanted her to disappear. The social media campaign. When her legal threats proved empty, I'm guessing she actually consulted a lawyer who told her what mine told me. She shifted tactics. Social media posts appeared. Vague but pointed. When men use women for their domestic labor and give nothing back. 4 years of building a home, erased in a moment like it never mattered. That moment when you realize you were investing in someone else's future while they were just waiting for you to leave. Friends started asking me what happened. Some of them saw only her side, her posts, her narrative, her pain. The story spread through our mutual circles. I was a user. I'd benefited from her work, her skills, her contributions. Then I'd thrown her away and given her nothing. She transformed that apartment, one mutual friend said to me at a coffee shop. I saw the before and after photos she posted. She deserves something for that. She lived there rent-free for 4 years, I replied. I paid for every single item she transformed it with. Every piece of furniture. Every gallon of paint. Everything. What exactly does she deserve beyond $52,800 in free housing? The friend didn't have an answer for that. The friend group split. Our social circle divided. Some friends, especially hers, accepted her narrative without question. She'd invested her soul. She'd made my apartment livable. She'd given years of her life. I was selfish, unappreciative, taking advantage of her skills. Other friends, the ones who knew me better or thought more critically about the situation, were skeptical. Wait, she lived there rent-free? For 4 years. And now she wants money. After cheating. They saw through it. Recognized the entitlement. Understood the audacity. I lost some friends in that split. People I'd known for years chose to believe her version without ever asking for mine. That hurt more than I expected. But I also learned who my real friends were. The ones who asked questions. Who listened. Who understood that living somewhere rent-free while your partner funds improvements isn't investment, it's incredible luck. The documentation meeting. I asked to meet her in person. Public place, daytime, witnesses around. I brought a folder with every receipt, every bank statement, every documented purchase related to the apartment. I want to show you something, I said, sliding the folder across the table. She opened it. Started flipping through pages. Her expression shifted from confident to confused to defensive. I don't care about receipts, she said, pushing the folder back. This isn't about money you spent. It's about what I gave. My creativity. My energy. My vision. You can't put a price on that. You just did. You put a price of $40,000 on it. Which is convenient, because that's probably what you need to furnish whatever new place you're moving into with your new boyfriend. This isn't about justice or compensation or sweat equity. This is about funding your next chapter with money from the chapter you destroyed. She stood up. You're impossible to talk to. Everything is always about money with you. No, I said quietly. Everything is about reality. The reality is you contributed $0 documented dollars to my apartment. You lived rent-free for 4 years. Over $50,000 in housing I provided. If anyone owes anyone based on actual contributions, you owe me. But I'm not asking for that. I'm asking you to stop this insanity. You have no legal claim. No lawyer will take your case. The only thing you're accomplishing is embarrassing yourself. She left without another word. I thought that was the end. The harassment escalates. It wasn't the end. The social media posts continued. More vague accusations about threatening behavior, gaslighting, abuse. She told mutual friends I'd threatened her at our meeting. That showing her receipts proving she'd contributed nothing was somehow aggressive. She contacted my mother. Sent her a long message about how I'd mistreated her for 4 years, used her, then discarded her without compensation for everything she'd given. My mom called me, completely confused. Did you two buy an apartment together? She's saying you owe her money. She lived in my apartment rent-free for 4 years. Now she wants $40,000 because she picked out furniture that I paid for. Silence on the phone. Then, she cheated on you and wants $40,000 for picking out curtains? Is she insane? I'm starting to think so, yeah. The harassment continued. Messages to my family members. Posts that didn't name me but were clearly about me. Comments to mutual friends about how I'd gaslit her about her contributions. The narrative she'd built was immune to facts. Documentation didn't matter. Reality didn't matter. In her mind, she'd invested. She deserved. I owed. The cease and desist. I'd had enough. I paid my lawyer friend to draft a formal cease and desist letter. We documented everything. The harassment, the defamatory posts, the false claims, the contact with my family members. The letter made several points crystal clear. 1. She had no legal claim to the property whatsoever. 2. Her public statements were defamatory and potentially actionable. 3. Her harassment constituted a pattern that could warrant legal intervention. 4. If she continued, I would pursue all available legal remedies. The letter was sent via certified mail and email. She stopped immediately. The social media posts vanished. The messages ceased. The campaign ended. That told me everything I needed to know. People with real cases don't fold the moment a lawyer gets involved. They escalate. They fight. They pursue their claims through proper channels. She stopped because there was nothing to fight with. No case. No claim. No leg to stand on. Just entitlement and audacity, and neither of those hold up against actual legal scrutiny. 6 months later. It's been 6 months since the cease and desist. My apartment is quiet again. Peaceful. I redecorated. Removed everything that reminded me of her. Chose my own furniture this time. Simpler, more my taste, less designed, but more comfortable. The walls are colors I picked. The artwork is pieces I actually like, rather than pieces someone told me I should like. For the first time since she moved in, the space feels fully mine. Not ours, with me paying. Not her vision funded by my wallet. Just mine. The friend group settled into its new configuration. I lost some people, kept others, made new friends who never knew her and don't come with that baggage. The mutual friends who believed her narrative have gone quiet. I think they eventually figured out the truth, or at least realized the story was more complicated than she'd presented. She's moved on publicly. Posts happy photos with a new boyfriend, apparently living her best life. They moved in together about 3 months ago. I hope for his sake she doesn't try the same thing when that relationship inevitably ends. Though maybe she learned something. Or maybe she just found someone with enough money that she doesn't need to manufacture equity claims. The reflection. What bothers me most, looking back, isn't the money she wanted. It isn't even the cheating, though that hurt. It's the genuine belief she seemed to have. She really thought she deserved $40,000. Really believed that choosing furniture while living rent-free entitled her to equity in property she'd never contributed to financially. Somewhere along the way, she convinced herself that her opinions were investments. That her presence was contribution. That her aesthetic was ownership. She built this narrative over 4 years, and by the end, she believed it completely. Whether she was always planning this endgame or whether the entitlement evolved naturally, I don't know. But the delusion was real to her. Totally, completely real. She lived rent-free for 4 years. That's $52,800 in housing I provided. And she wanted $40,000 from me because she picked out curtains? If we're calculating actual contributions, actual benefits, actual equity, she's $52,800 in the hole. But I'm the one who got called selfish, unappreciative, a user. I have receipts for everything. Every piece of furniture. Every gallon of paint. Every decoration. All paid by me. Her contribution, $0 documented dollars. She invested her soul. I invested my bank account. Only one of those shows up in legal records. Only one of those means anything in the real world. She called it sweat equity. My lawyer laughed for 5 minutes straight. Sweat equity requires formal business agreements, documented labor, clear terms. Picking out a couch while your boyfriend pays for it isn't equity. It's shopping with someone else's money. She cheated on me, left me for another guy, and then demanded $40,000 for emotional investment. The emotional investment she made was in someone else's bed. But I was supposed to pay for her interior design opinions? The audacity is almost impressive. Mutual friends said she transformed the apartment. She chose colors and furniture that I paid for. That's not transformation, that's consultation. Interior designers charge $100 per hour for that service, not $40,000 for 4 years of opinions given while living rent-free. When I showed her the receipts proving she'd contributed nothing, she told people I threatened her. Documentation is threatening when you're lying. Truth is abusive when you're building a fiction. I didn't threaten her. I just proved she was wrong. That felt threatening because it destroyed her narrative. The cease and desist worked immediately. That tells me she knew her claims were hollow. People with real cases don't stop when lawyers send letters. They escalate. She folded because there was nothing to fight with. Just entitlement and audacity, and neither holds up in court. Saturday morning. I'm sitting in my apartment with coffee in hand. The couch I'm sitting on, I chose it. Comfortable, simple, exactly my taste. The walls are a color I picked, not the most sophisticated choice probably, but I like it. The decorations are things that actually mean something to me rather than things that create visual interest. For the first time since she moved in 5 years ago, the apartment feels fully, completely, entirely mine. My phone buzzes. A friend sending a meme, nothing dramatic. Just normal Saturday conversation. I look around my space. This apartment I bought at 25 with money I saved from age 18. This space I worked 2 jobs to afford. This home I paid off 3 years early through aggressive payments and sacrifice. $127,000 I paid myself. $12,000 in improvements I funded. 4 years of mortgage payments I made alone. And now, finally, peace and quiet I earned. She wanted $40,000 for investing her soul into my apartment. Let me tell you what she actually invested. Opinions. She invested opinions about paint colors I paid for, furniture I bought, decorations I funded. She lived rent-free for 4 years, over $50,000 in housing I provided, and then demanded I pay her. That's not investment. That's the most expensive interior design consultation in history, except I was already paying for it with free housing. Some people think presence is contribution. Think existing in a space means owning it. Think opinions equal equity. They don't. Contribution is documented. Ownership is legal. Equity is earned through actual investment, money, documented labor, formal agreements. She had none of that. Just entitlement and audacity and a narrative she told herself until she believed it completely. Until it became her reality, immune to facts, impervious to documentation, sustained purely by the force of her conviction that she deserved something she'd never earned. The apartment is mine. It was always mine. Before her, during her, and after her. The only difference now is that I choose my own curtains. And you know what? I like them better.